Van Helsing. Me both.
Let Amy know her comment got up 4 hours later.
You and me both. I don't usually stay up this late. So, news from the pew after dark has commenced. I am.
I need to cut the lights off to get in the mood.
That's right. Hold on, I will. I am one half of the dream team here. Rick Barrett. Look at that. After dark. Get the mood lighting.
Put some Marvin Gaye on.
Yeah, no. Too far. And the other half, as you can see right there, the one and only godfather of Catholic alternative media, Census Fidelium Press, Census Fidelium app, Census Fidelium everything, Census Fidelium the flamethrower.
Working on the action figures. The kids love it.
The kids love that one. Mr. Steve Cunningham. And it's good to have, it's always good to see Steve to talk about the latest wacky things that seem to be happening. 2025 is 2 days old, and it's already given us quite a bit to remember it by. We thought 2024 was a little crazy, Steve. It looks like 2025 is like, oh, my beer.
First of all, we do know that the city of New Orleans was impacted by a terrorist attack. It's all still under investigation. You'll hear more. However, I have been in direct contact with the White House, with Governor Landry, and of course a unified command who is present here.
This is not a terrorist event. What it is right now is their improvised explosive devices that was found. And we are working on confirming if it's a viable device or not.
See behind us is what we call hardening the target.
65-year-old Matt Locke.
We have brought in heavy trucks. You will see when you go down Bourbon, you will see yellow, what we call archers, and they're along the sidewalk. And that would be to be preventive. If someone had, or if this particular terrorist went around up on the sidewalk, that's what that would do, okay? It would slow that down for anyone who thought that they could breach our targets. And so those are some of the main differences we are done in the quarter. Also, you are going to see an incredibly large presence of police. And we are, though, confident, but we want our community to feel confident and know they are confident. We say. And that's what we're going to do. So right now, I can declare to you that the Bourbon Street is open.
Chief, where did those archers come from?
Sorry?
Those yellow archers, where did they come from?
Actually, we have them. I didn't know about them, but we have them. And so we have been able now to put them out.
Okay.
Wait. You didn't know you had them? By the way, if you've been watching my stuff, I know Lou has, so this is I'm just rehashing for Lou. But the actual barriers, the ones that you are supposed to put up, they don't work, and they aren't going to get fixed until the Super Bowl in February. That's what Grandma told us the other night. So that wasn't working. And then she's like, she thought they were just like a bunch of cones that you use for training. And they're like, no, you can actually like stop cars with that. She's like, no, I don't think so. I need to get to Roy Rogers now. Excuse me. So yeah, Steve, just New Orleans and the state of Louisiana once again showing that, yes, we want local, but some of y'all locals governments aren't really that much better than the national government at this point. I think you might be muted, bro. Yeah.
Sorry, I was opening the mail.
You pulled the Barrett, man. Come on.
Pull the Rick. I've been reading these reconstruction and Lincoln Marx thing. And yeah, man, what you just said about the local is just like the national. That's exactly what the plan was and exactly what they did. Is obviously the carpetbagger governors come in and then they turn everything into a pretty much federalize everything. And as one guy said, he goes, for it to work, for communism to work in the states, they had to get rid of states' rights and state sovereignty. That's literally direct quotes. I mean, freaking Mein Kampf talks about it, how they had to get this done, how he loved the Southerners going down because they had to get rid of Southern state rights for socialism, communism to go. And hey, we celebrate this every day. Yay, yay, yay. It's exactly like it because we've embraced that nonsense literally from the 1860s all the way on. So everything is, all those big cities are basically just an extension of the federal bureaucracy. And you look at it, they look like militarized cops anymore. I mean, they got the tanks, they got everything, and they get it from DC. DC gives them to these guys. So
they got to move the equipment, man. The fall season comes in. They got the new tanks, they got the new equipment, they got the new flak jackets. They got to get rid of the old stuff.
Yeah, they got and I don't know, when it went down, I had a priest friend text me up, and his text was, I'll read it to you. Because I had no clue what was going on. Obviously, there's something, it was, what was it at here? That's it. Here is an existential consideration. So some Muslim drives a truck through a packed street in New Orleans. Likely, some of those people were in a state of mortal sin and ended up in hell, along with the Muslim. Can you imagine the hatred they will have for that guy for the rest of eternity while being in his presence forever? I thought he was being hypothetical. This happened because when was it? The first.
Yeah, so 3:10 a.m. on the first.
Yeah, so I got done putting the last video up.
Which ironically, Steve went to bed at 3:00.
Right, 2:30, I think it was 2:00. It was probably an hour before this all happened. I literally put the last video up. I busted out 4 in 3 hours, and I don't turn the computer. I don't even look at cell phone or anything on Sundays, just because we're, one, trying to get away, and two, just so busy with family and driving and going to mass and everything else that I don't even think about it. Same thing Wednesday. I literally thought today was Monday. Yesterday, I thought I was going, all right, well, I'll go to the gym tomorrow. No, my whole day was whack. So I didn't know about this till about 7:00 ish. I finally, the kids went down for a little bit. I turned on local news for a second, and that was the first story they popped up and it was the delay local news because we canceled the Spectrum, and there's some free app that has local news for free. So it gets to, 5 hours ago recording a local news. No, what in the world? I texted them up, go, Padre, I thought you were doing hypothetical. No clue that actually happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, there's just a lot of weird things like people down there saying these. I've always walked on Bourbon Street and I always seen these up, and then all of a sudden, we never think twice of it because the gates were up. I mean, I've been there one time. It was for the LSU South Carolina game back in, was it 2011 and 2010? And I think a tropical storm rolled in that day. It was a tropical storm or depression. That was fun sitting through the game during that. And but there was obviously no trucks, no cars, no nothing going down Bourbon, and you had the barriers up. So for that thing not to work, or what's not to be going on, or for one of the biggest days outside of Mardi Gras there. My wife's aunt works in that, not in that area, but not too far from there. I wonder what her story or account is on things, but I don't know, man. You said it was cut and dry. We were off screen and you did a thing on it. My spidey senses start tingling, going, I don't believe you, not you. I don't believe you, wherever the video, the news is saying, don't believe you, don't believe you, don't believe you, don't believe you. And then you got this thing going on in Vegas going, all right, I really don't believe you, and I don't really believe you. And because it's all this whole fear thing going on. And it's like, okay, this guy apparently became Muslim, but he was supposedly like a brilliant, kind guy for a while. And now they're coming up. I just saw on Drudge Report, he's multiple divorces, bankruptcy,
lost his job, converted to Islam. Yeah. Well, he was in a part of Houston, and I was saying this just late. Houston's got a huge Muslim population.
Oh yeah,
huge Muslim population there. So it happens. The amount of men that convert to Islam is high, and it doesn't take much to do so.
Yeah, there's a video on Vice. It's actually the video that got me to do the start the Spanish channel, Spanish website, and all that was they talked about all the young guys going in the mosque, and what they compared it to the Catholics. And you saw they're young, bold, big, they're guys going in and converting guys out of the church into Islam, and they flash over to the Catholic scene, and it's 90-year-old Father Joe who played gin with Abraham back in the day, and that's all you see is white hairs walking around when you see the young, vibrant Islamic community versus the old, dying, beaten, slew Catholic community. And
Islam, as perverted as it does, is great at faking a presentation of discipline, which a lot of these guys, when they're in prison and all these places, it gives them a sense, it's not the correct sense, but it gives them a false sense that their life is getting together because they're following these rules and all these other things that are presented, which Catholics like, we have those too. It's just nobody enforces them or nobody talks about them because we're too afraid to scare people. So
funny you said the prison thing. When my last job in South Carolina before I went out to Colorado for a few years was helping vets in the Upstate Warriors Foundation Solutions group. And my role was to go into prisons. And I was talking to a couple of deputies, and they mentioned that all the books in the prison libraries are Islamic. So, there's some kind of new law, depending on where you're at, I guess. If you can or cannot visit prisoners, that's part of one of the things. You go visit prison, go visit in prison. That's a Catholic thing to do, and so they keep you from doing that. So another way you can get around it, if the thought ever comes across anybody's mind, is to get books, and don't get the stupid books. Don't bring books that are talking about that problems in the church. We get it. Get something that's worth a crap and bring him into the prisons. When we were out in Denver, there was a guy that comes up to, we were doing the St. Paul Street team. And if you don't know what that is, it's evangelizing on the streets. So we were doing this at a festival. It's the People's Fair in Denver. And it's really the who's who of who hates you. Really, you walk down the sidewalk, they gave out condoms and lube at this thing. There was a drag show going on. We're the only people there that has any morality sense in the world. People would come up to us saying, thank you for being there. It was just my wife and I and our newborn. To my right was the Muslims. To my left was the Freedom from Religion. And right behind me was the National Guard, who just loved every moment of this. And I did too. I thought it was fantastic. But no, we had always had people coming up and they'd flip us off and all kinds of things. It was glorious. I loved it. It's my kind of thing. I'm weird. But this one guy comes up and he's tattooed all up. Tells Megan that he just got out of prison and he read an encyclical by Francis, of all people, and he wanted to learn more about the Eucharist. Do we have anything on that? So somehow he got an encyclical in prison on the Eucharist by Francis. So it's a way to evangelize without, if you don't like going out and talking to people, go get some good books or something you don't know or don't want to have anymore and donate them to your local penitentiary centers. They'll take them. Sorry, off topic on that because
it needs to be talked about because one of the things we don't do now is we don't visit the prison, the imprisoned as we are commanded to. We're commanded to do so, but we don't do it. So it needs to be a subject that's brought up more and more. So no, there's nothing wrong with that.
But also, besides doing harder and tweet, that's all we really do.
I mean, we also bring it back to the fact that this guy was lost, and he was on Facebook over the summer talking about how he wanted to hurt family and friends, and then he transitioned. He wanted it to be a war between the believers and the unbelievers, and the FBI was like, "Cool, bro, you need help?" And they pretty much. The old Bart Simpson line of say the line, he was on our radar, and then they were like, good job, buddy, keep going.
I wouldn't be shocked. And if he wasn't an FBI, CIA employee, false flag.
Well, you also mentioned the fact he's former military. He's former military intelligence, and he's stationed at Fort Bragg. Fort Bragg was also where our guy in Vegas, he did some time there too. So
Fort Bragg, also, this is according to Dan Dix. I don't know if anybody knows, he's a Canadian.
I already don't trust him.
He does some good reports. He was all over the Canadian truckers thing one time. Anyway, he goes, Dan Dix for Press for Truth points the finger of blame. I'm sorry, paragraph before. Both men allegedly involved in the attacks have been involved with the U.S. military and were both at one point in their career stationed at Fort Liberty, formerly Fort Bragg, where the military runs what's called the 4th Psychological Operations Group, also known as POGA. POGA.
Poca King of the Midwest.
The Rona, that all started from Fort Detrick. So all this stuff that happens, there's a FORT associated with all this stuff. So yeah, just question everything just because CNN or Fox or your favorite guy on Twitter says, I know what happened. One,
well, if I say it, then believe me, but don't believe anybody else.
Well, at least, hey, you're what? How far away are you from Nola?
Probably eight, depending on traffic, 8 to 10.
Really?
Houston's closer. Houston's 4 hours from me, and then Houston to Nola is like a 5-hour trip. I wish Brian was around. He could tell us, but
if I'm getting news from Californians or guys in New York or things like that, I know what happened right off the bat. I knew exactly what. The first people you shouldn't listen to are the guys that come on 5 minutes afterwards and go, I know what. Mean, I watched even what's his face, the guy from England. He was talking about him. Go, what do you know? I mean,
Carl Benjamin.
No, Paul Joseph Watson. He had one on a lot of questions going on, which raised some questions. But I mean, nobody really knows. But it's just one. Hey, what is the record shown the last couple times? Feds, false flags, and maybe something like this. This is my personal opinion. If Rick doesn't want to. I know
you apparently didn't listen to my show 20 minutes ago, dude. I went off the deep end. People in the chat know, so go right ahead.
All right, this is what's going to come out of all this.
Finally complete the biometric entry-exit visa tracking system, which we need desperately. We will ensure that this system is in place, and I will tell you, it will be on land, it will be on sea, it will be in air. We will have a proper tracking.
You will get that digital ID and surveillance state that you always dreamed of. You didn't get for Christmas 2024. You will get that this year, and it will have a MAGA flag on it.
I said today that Patriot Act 2.0 is pretty much being teed up, and you're seeing the fact that there's these two things that happened. There's the South Carolina thing. There seems to be an influx between this shift change, which I'm calling between the administrations, this time period between the 1st to the 20th, where a lot of things are kind of just popping up that they usually don't pop up. And it's going to lead to people demanding when Trump comes in on the 20th, save us, Trump, save us, Daddy Trump, whatever you need to do, put whatever bills are in place just to keep us safe from all these evil people that are out there. And so that's what I went off the deep end this afternoon. I said Patriot Act 2.0 is being set up with this whole thing right now. 100%.
Too big of a quinky dink on all that. Yeah, but that Greenville thing, I know exactly where that is. White Horse Road. That's the one on the right here. You can see the White Horse Road exit. That's the heart of downtown for Greenville. It's not downtown Greenville, but it's the main road, the main interstate, the construction corridor, they call it, because it's been in construction for the last, how old am I? About that long, 40, 50
forever
years.
Since the state was founded.
Oh, dude.
After the Civil War.
the state bird is a cone. And it's right there. But yeah, you brought up the thing out in Vegas.
Latest we can report the name of the suspect.
No, forgive me. This is still New Orleans. We'll stay
on the East Coast before we go to the West.
His name is Shamsud Din Jabbar, 42 years old, a U.S. citizen, resident of Texas. There are previous criminal record, including theft and driving with a suspicion.
Yes, that was the main thing of all that was everyone immediately went to illegal, cross-border, all that. And then
at first they were like, the truck was brought over 2 days ago and he's this and that and the other thing, and which would have helped with a biometric entry system, but
was it MJD, Marjorie, no, MTG. Marjorie Taylor Greene was out there saying, tweeting, there's 4 other people that are missing and they're connected to it. And then
the FBI was like, there are 3 people that were helping put the IEDs in the truck. And then today they're like, never mind.
suspended license. So we're starting to piece together the profile of the man who carried out this attack at this time. So chilling. It does appear that this person took some time to prepare for this, prepared the vehicle. It looks like there was a flag. Investigators are saying they're investigating whether it's an ISIS flag or possibly another terror group.
It still had the price tag on it when they bought it earlier.
They said they had to rip off the Made in China label.
Terror group.
Dude, Timmy, you left the intern left the Made in China label on there. They're like, get rid of that thing.
Vehicle belonged to the suspect?
It seems the vehicle was obtained through like a ride share app program in Texas. So it was like a rented vehicle. So that's what we know at this time, not necessarily belonging to Din Jabbar, but that the vehicle was rented in Texas and then driven to New Orleans
Which, by the way, an electric
attack.
vehicle driving
he was
to
wearing
New
tactical
Orleans
gear.
is not.
We have a photo of
feat.
him after he was killed by police, gunfire, and he's wearing like camouflage pants, tactical gear. According to law enforcement sources, the long gun that he had a device that acts as a silencer. So all of this points to premeditation and a will to carry out an attack.
I mean,
I love it when they talk about this stuff,
premeditated. He had the Airbnb and the rental, so he had to premeditate getting the rental and all that. I mean, the Airbnb apparently went up in flames or something like that.
Yeah, like in Mission Impossible, this device will self-destruct. So the Turo app, I've used it, and the people who have watched my shows this week will know. So it's just
I knew of it.
What?
I remember hearing of it back in the day.
Yeah, I've used it. It's an app. You put in your time. I do the one at the airport. The person who's renting the car will leave it, and they'll put like one of those storage keys on the side on a window. And they'll give you the code. You punch the code in. You get your key. You unlock it. You take some pictures to make sure, and then you drive off. So it's got total anonymity that's associated with it. So, you could, and I will bring this up again when we talk about the Vegas one, because that's even more important when that happens. But yeah, you don't have to. It's not like Timothy McVeigh with when he had to actually go rent a truck for the Oklahoma City incident. And he had to give like an address and all. You can use a burner number. You can use a burner credit card. You can use a burner address. You can use all of these things. Or if you're going to do this, a run like this, you don't have to worry about giving your details. So yeah, it's perfectly fine to use an app like Turo because it gives you complete and total anonymity, which I can't say the word. So you know what I'm saying, folks.
Yeah. Here's Vegas. Viva Las Vegas.
In just the last few minutes, that he is an active duty U.S. Special Forces soldier assigned to 10th Special Forces Group, according to 4 U.S. officials, that he holds the rank of Master Sergeant, a senior enlisted rank, these officials said. 3 officials said he was on active duty serving in Germany, and he was on leave when this happened on New Year's Day. He has not been identified publicly, and authorities are still trying to work out whether this was a terrorist attack. Now, just to recap a little bit of what happened behind us just 24 hours ago, approximately, there are still police presence here around the valet area of where you pull into the Trump International Hotel just off of the Vegas Strip. This Cybertruck that he allegedly rented was rented from Colorado from the Turo rental platform. Authorities say that he drove it here to Las Vegas by 7:30 a.m. on New Year's Day, that he drove up and down the Strip, and then about an hour before the explosion drove past the Trump Hotel as well. And police did make note that the damage was really limited because of the body construction of this Tesla.
So, all right. I've stayed at that hotel twice. Whenever my wife and I go to Vegas, we stay at the Trump because we think it's the nicest one there.
High roller.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So the Trump is different than any other of the other hotels in Vegas because it doesn't have gambling. All the other ones that have gambling, you can't drive up to the valet. Usually there's a little bit more of a way through because of the gambling, and they don't let you park there. You have that. You have the fact that this guy was special forces, and apparently, from what his family has said and what his training has said, he was able to rig up any kind of device that could have obliterated the building if he really wanted to. There was a press conference earlier today where they talked about the actual contents of it.
Subject inside wasn't able to be removed for a very long period of time because he was burnt beyond recognition.
I want you to, folks, I need you to play the game of pay attention to what he says. Point one, burn beyond recognition.
Yeah.
And so as we continue to move through this, I'm going to talk a little bit about his identity and what we believe, but I would like to highlight a couple of things that the teams found inside of the Cybertruck that are useful to the investigation. And that, first and foremost, is a military identity.
Burned beyond recognition, passport survived.
Just like 9/11 when the officers walking around.
Presenting this information to you folks.
The passport just flies down.
Yeah.
Perfect.
We also found
perfectly so you could see the face and name and identification.
He was
burned beyond recognition. Passport survived.
He's burned to a crisp and can't get off the seat because they got to scrape him off. But his driver's license,
his iPhone and iWatch are fine.
Passport. We found a Desert Eagle 50 caliber.
Okay. As the gun guy here, let me just jump in and say, no gun person. The only reason you buy a Desert Eagle is to have it in your gun case. So when like your buddies show up, you're like, hey man, check out this stupid gun I bought. Cause I'm not shooting down Japanese zeros with it. Cause it's a 50 caliber pistol. It's also this gentleman supposedly ended his time on this planet via a wound with a gun with this 50 caliber pistol, which two things. Mr. Guns and Gear, a very, very good YouTuber out there. He said, I watched the video of the explosion twice. There's no flash in the car before it blows up.
Yeah, they said he shot himself.
Second thing is the concussion blast from a 50 caliber pistol would have done some damage to the windows before the car blew up, just because of it being in an encased. Just the concussion on that is absolutely ridiculous. So so he brought a 50 caliber pistol, which by the way, I guess he bought it on his drive down.
Well, I guess the counter argument would be since that thing's a tank, are the windows bulletproof or is
they are bulletproof, but still the concussion would have done something. Even if it cracked it a little bit. I mean,
I was waiting for somebody that owns one to say, I got a chip from a Pebble on the front of of my windshield. Are they Pebble chip free?
Right. I mean, that's just something to be brought up.
And if you'll notice on a lot of these,
and then he had time to bring an AR pistol with him.
Burnt beyond recognition as well. There's an SLR model B30 semi-automatic firearm. Number of fireworks that were still in the vehicle that had to be removed. Notably, we found an iPhone and a smartwatch. And
perfectly intact.
Credit cards were also in the name
of
our
intact.
Subject.
So, yeah, all of those things couldn't get him out of the car, but the gun is fine. The passport is fine. The ID is fine, but he's not.
Well,
let me throw this out now, and I know Steve knows exactly where I'm going. Teslas are one of the few cars where you can program where you want your car to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I already said this on my show, so I'm not breaking any ground if you watch my previous show. But I'll get to
that's just common thing. I mean, you're talking to Mr. AI technocrat that has self-driving cars. I mean, there was people when I was doing Uber his friend was riding with me, and the guy that was riding in my car, his friend was taking a nap. He said, in his Tesla going to the airport. They were going to the same spot, but he wanted to take a nap on the way up by himself. So he let his AI car drive it. This is back in 2016, 2017.
In Arizona, right next door, is the number one place they do the self-driving cars. They test them out.
Yeah. For Uber, they were doing it. Was it Mesa?
Yeah.
Mesa was doing it.
Yep, Mesa, Arizona.
Anyway, here the sun. Just to go down on what you were saying about they pay attention to the particulars. Burnt beyond recognition. But in this one, what was it right here? The semi-automatic pistol. Investigators believe they identified him through his tattoos, but are awaiting
burnt beyond recognition.
But are awaiting DNA confirmation to be sure. And even this one was saying that burnt beyond recognition. So burnt beyond recognition, but we saw his tattoo. We don't have DNA yet. And that article by itself. We didn't take his DNA yet to confirm, but we're going to tell you who it is.
Yep. Because of the Turo app that was rented, which, by the way, remember, folks, you don't have to meet the person when you rent the car. So anybody else could have rented it in Colorado, driven it down to Vegas. The guy could have been held hostage. The guy could have been anything. And then all of a sudden, and I'll tell you why they did this. I said on my other show, and I know I keep saying that, but just because there are a couple people that also, it's a great way, Steve, for the DOJ, because the DOJ has always been high writing, as the North Koreans would say, right-wing terrorism. And this guy is what? He's a Trump guy. He's a huge Trump guy, loved America and all these other kinds of things, pro-Trump this, pro-Trump that. And now they can say, right-wing terrorism, guys. We need to have this stuff. We need to have, crack down on right-wing extremism here in these United States. We got to watch those Catholics. We got to watch all these people because look, they tried to kill Trump. They tried to bomb Trump Tower.
Yeah, I just need to find a flag that says false flags. We can wave it around. Yeah, if you buy this story, I guess we have a COVID-free Trump Tower up in Mars to sell you. Which, give it 5 more years, I'm sure
it's going to be pretty good property, actually.
Maybe we have to say Venus just to make it more realistic. But yeah, so like you said before, this guy was pretty good at ammunition blow and or things like this. But yet he picked fireworks, the gas
can
inside a tank, and thought that was going to do something. Which they said to even leave a scratch on the doors at Trump Towers, whatever. And yeah, so either this guy was already dead, put in the car, barbecued, and still stuck in there, or something else more to the story. But hey, yeah, just believe the media. They would never lie to you, ever. They never have lied, ever. And yeah, just if you don't believe me.
New CDC report on the first severe human case of bird flu in the U.S. Samples taken from a patient in Louisiana show mutations that could make it easier for this virus to spread from person to person.
Maybe he was going after that guy in Louisiana.
Maybe he was trying to disinfect it.
Yeah.
Right now, there's no evidence it's been passed along to anyone else, and the CDC says risk to the public remains low. But experts warn a single mutation like this could potentially lead to another pandemic.
Experts warn.
The virus may mutate and become more easily transmitted person to person. So the more this virus circulates and specifically co-circulates with human strains, that's going to increase the odds of the virus evolving to more human-to-human transmission. And that of course, could signal another pandemic.
Join us now is Dr. Deborah Birx. You may remember her as the response coordinator.
The scarf queen herself.
A moment of silence for our queen, Deborah.
That's right, our scarf queen. Hello.
For the White House Coronavirus Task Force in the first Trump administration. We are very fortunate to have your expertise as we try to figure out what's going on with the bird flu and what it could mean.
Rick had nothing to do with this video. I take full responsibility for punishing you all at the beginning of this year to our beloved, dear, faithful fans to have you listen to Deborah.
So far, 65 human cases of bird flu have been reported in the U.S. this year, all contracted by animals. But now we have this new mutation in Louisiana. How worried should we be about bird flu potentially becoming another pandemic?
Well, I love the way you said 63 cases, because I have no idea how many cases there were or are, because our number one principle in preventing pandemics is detect. And if you go to the CDC website, you can see that they're monitoring more than
test everybody.
10,000 exposures, but they've only tested 530. What does that mean? That means we're not testing enough. And we know from other viruses that a lot of the spread can be asymptomatic. So we're kind of have our head in the sand about how widespread this is from the zoonotic standpoint, from the animal to human standpoint. Now, also remember, most of those cases described to date happened in the spring and the summer. not when we had H1N1 circulating right now, when we're running the flu pandemic with throughout the United States. So we have rising flu cases, and now we have still zoonotic events coming. So now you've set up for potentially a farm worker getting H5N1, also getting the current flu strain,
like a bad
and reassorting in that individual.
H5N1.
To me, that's
COVID,
almost
19.
a bigger.
Bingo.
Yeah, right.
H1. Bingo.
Yes.
Achoo. Listen.
Yeah. Yep. It's
We're
ridiculous.
not supposed to hate people, but it's hard with these guys. I mean, what they committed murder, they got away with literal murder, and most people, most people, fine with it. None, maybe we'll fall for it again. We got norovirus going on right now.
Well, the left is just waiting to do it. The left is just waiting to shut down and do all that stuff. These people have been begging for what was it? Stay at home. What was it? I don't even forget what they called it. The whatever it was, the 2 weeks to slow the spread. They're begging for that stuff ever since it ended. They wanted to have it again. Every time there was a sneeze, they're like, "Oh, we should have it again. We should have a lockdown again, so we can all stay at home and just sit around and eat chips all day and play video games."
Most millennials wanted to. There was a couple stories about 6 months ago where companies were threatening to fire them if they didn't come back to work because they had to negotiate 3 days out of 5 to come back to the office. Hey, I'm totally cool with the whole idea of not going to a stupid office. Again, it's the agrarian idea of the South that got executed 150 years ago versus the puritanical corporate thing that you see right now from Yankeeism. But yeah, it's that whole mind. When we were walking, I remember walking back in those days going, I absolutely hate. I told my wife this. I hate what they did, but I like this. I hate how they got to it. Because obviously they lied, killed people, and all that other stuff to get through it, and false flagged, whatever, and took people's liberties, and then let old people die just because of the sniffles. She likes watching the FBI, and they had an episode. Yeah. They had speaking of FBI, they had an episode, and they show them. I don't know how anybody watches that episode, those shows, and go, "I like these people." Anybody with eyes open going like, "These people stink." But I had one on Rona 2.0. And I couldn't help myself. I'm like a Mystery Science Theater in the background going, because the lady's saying, thousands of people. And I go, we'll get the sniffles. It's crazy stupid how all this is going on. Again, they would never lie to you, right? And anyways, but yeah, norovirus is going on right now. I know a lot of people that got hit with that in the last couple of weeks. If you're wondering, yes, it does stink. I don't know if Rick's got, I don't think he has, but load up on from my bud Judson Carroll, who's the Catholic herbalist. Load up on garlic and anything in the allium family, which is onions, shallots, green onions.
We load up on. I know we're not where Steve is yet. We get the supplements. We got vitamins D, E. Zinc. Those are the ones we're loading up on.
Well, those are always good. The supplements is better than nothing, but nothing beats the natural stuff. But if you get any kind of, if you eat an onion regular, just eat the onion. There's actually an article.
Are you endorsing onion rings? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, I guess you could. I mean, it's still, as long as you don't nuke it in a microwave, you'll still keep the stuff. But was it Dissolving Illusions talks about how this area in Italy did not get the Black Death because they lived off onions. And if you don't read into herbalism and all that, you don't know why the heck onions. I remember telling people about that and they're going, "That's the stupid thing in the world. Why onions?" But no, onions, the allium family, and all that is incredible on all the benefits you get from that. So yeah, load up on eating. Put that in all your. You shouldn't go a day without eating something like that in your diet. Chives, onions. I have chives every morning. Just pick them off. I just pick them off and put them in my eggs in the morning. Onions, whatever you can find that's in that family, eat it, and that will help out, especially digestive issues. Again, grow some peppermint, and that takes away the diarrhea problem sometimes. And if you have any vomiting, it will cure that. Anyway, little short FYI, and it's on the sidetrack because a lot of people have been getting it. I just found out, strawberries. The leaves are better than the fruit.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
It's what the leaves and the little part where you eat it and you throw that out. That part you throw out is actually better than the part you just ate.
Interesting.
Strawberries is technically an herb. I didn't what the more you know.
He's just blowing my mind, folks. He's just dropping all kinds of herbalist knowledge.
You make a salad with strawberry leaves, blackberry leaves. You can make a salad with all these kind of leaves, except for a lettuce. If you grow your own lettuce, it's a celery. If you grow the celery your own, it's like a superfood. The stuff you get at the grocery store, might as well just use it as a baseball bat, its size.
I use it as a transport device for Nutella.
Yeah, well, you can grow your own, and you'll probably become a Forbes best looking man or whatever like that afterwards. It's fairly that good if you grow it. No one grows it. You already are. It's just
right.
pumping you up a little more.
Thank you. Yeah. Now we can continue. Now that you paid proper respect. But yes, the fact is, folks, that between your terror incidences and the ginning up of the next pandemic and all of these other things, the government shenanigans that are planning to take place with the speaker race and all this other kind of nonsense there, it's going to be a rough 2025 in the fact that now that Trump's been installed, and Steve and I said that was going to happen. We said that he was going to be installed. Now we have to wait and see what they're going to be, what their plan is that they'll be able to get away with him in office, because that was the whole thing. They weren't able to get away with all their stuff with Joe Biden in office because he was just too old and too stupid to do it. But if you put Trump in and you let him do one or two things like drop, open up oil reserves so the gas drops, people will be happy because gas will be cheaper. Then you can get away with so much other stuff because the American people don't care. They're not going to care because stuff will be, as Brick says, normal, right? Oh yeah, well, gas is back to being like $2 and food's a little bit more affordable. Then they can pretty much do whatever they want and nobody's going to question it at all.
Yeah, so I went to the grocery store before and I bought $70 and going, I barely have anything in my hand right now. How did I just spend $70 in a grocery store? But speaking of the new normal and the sniffles, there's multiple states bringing back the face muzzles. California, Illinois, Indiana, and Jersey have brought back rules for staff and hospitals for the muzzled up staff and visitors. Officials in New York City, urging people to consider wearing a face diaper on public transport. Back.
Guess who's back? Back again. Masks are back.
I got one up here somewhere. I can't remember where, but there's somewhere up there. I wiped something down with one the other day.
Yeah. It's just
well, let's bring everyone to a laughing mode for a second. We gave you some dark off the bat.
We've been a little too dark right now. Let's get a little
24 election fried our brains. The Democrats couldn't hold a primary because they were too busy holding a body upright. Are we still rolling? Am I off?
Go for it.
It was amazing that the pro-choice party didn't give their voters one when it came to the presidential candidate. Kamala was forced on us so hard you'd think she was patented by Pfizer or Moderna, whichever one's. Oh, God. Andy just gave me a very scary look.
She goes on for a couple minutes, and, she's not very funny, but good credit to Whitney Cummings on that one for just kind of going off. Go off, Queen. You go off, Queen.
On the Clinton News Network with Anderson up there, not too happy.
They were so drunk at that point, they didn't even know because they started taking shots at like 7. So
did you see the video of all the people running in?
Oh yeah, I did. Oh, it's just like we are barnyard animals, aren't we? We just like people running in.
It's raining in that video, but it apparently was pouring for hours.
It's always terrible in New York weather-wise on New Year's Eve. It's always going to be frigid. It's always going to be frigid. And then you're either dealing with snow or sleet because it's never powdery snow because New York is right on the water. So you're not going to get powdery snow there. You're going to get what Northeasterners get, which is sleet, which is snow rain because it's not cold enough to be snow, but it's not cold enough to be rain. So it's this slushy nastiness and it just smacks you in the face and you hate life. And so that's pretty much what it's like in New York. That's why they're always so miserable, besides the fact they live in New York. But the whole thing is it's just so dumb. It's so dumb to see these people try to for what? It's just one of these ideas that, oh, I wasn't. I was asleep at 10 o'clock. I'm not Steve. I went to bed at 10 o'clock on New Year's Eve. I went to church. We did an anticipatory mass. We sang the Te Deum. My wife and I went out to dinner. We came home. I think I watched 22 Jump Street, and then I went to sleep.
Yes,
that was my New Year's Eve, and it was awesome.
In my days of going out all night before I came back in, I still didn't care about that day. We nicknamed it amateur hour. If anybody that did have a life before being involved back in the religion, you probably called it amateur hour. So when those guys came out and they left, then you get it out. They're like, all right, we'll go afterwards. But when I was in Denver, that was the only night that I would drive to go get riders was New Year's Eve, because I could probably get 3 hours and pull in $300 or $400 in a couple hours, depending if I got the right ride and the multiplier and all that jazz, and have to deal with the drunks in the cars. The only time I dealt with drunks in the car was that. And
it was New Year's Eve.
Yep. Play Christmas music for them and calm them down usually.
Well, it is, I mean, New Year's Eve it is the antithesis of secular America, because it's just another day on the calendar. It's another turn of the page. There's really nothing special about it. Now Catholics, obviously it's a big deal because the first is the Solemnity of Mary, Mother of God. That's obviously
three feast days on one.
It's a great feast day. But people can put so much stock. Oh man, it's going to be a new year, new me. And, I was at the gym at 4 o'clock on Wednesday morning. I was the only one in the gym, Steve. There was no new year, new me people at 4 a.m. when I was at the gym. And I was just
I remember when I was a trainer, I was, we had a news crew come in on, was it the next day when it was second or third, and they were talking about all the New Year's resolutions, and they wanted to film me doing nose breakers, which anybody don't know, you're just laying in your bed and you're doing tricep extensions laying down. And I had like 9,500 pounds on the thing, and I'm on like 50, 20. How many more you want me to do?
Right. The guy that's 400 pounds is trying, no, do one more. Why don't you put on the Funyuns, buddy? Why don't you do them?
You're about to see the nose break,
Yeah, the skull's actually going to get crushed if we don't cut.
Yeah. Back to the darkness. BIS proposes hybrid retail CBDC model. If you don't understand what that means, BIS is still pursuing a retail version of CBDC where your cash, not crypto, not dollars, is held on account directly by the central banks, bypassing the commercial banks, making them obsolete. This could wipe out existing bank systems worldwide and put everyone's fate in the hands of the BIS, the global bank for the global technocracy. If you don't know who the BIS is, I'm sure I have this. I'm sure you all have seen Augusta.
Oh, you've seen them. They're around.
Yeah, he definitely has not missed a feast day.
Our analysis on CBDC, in particular for the use of general use, we tend to establish the equivalence with cash, and there is a huge difference there. For example, in cash, we don't know, for example, who's using a $100 bill today. We don't know who is using a 1,000 peso bill today. A key difference with the CBDC is that central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations that will determine the use of.
So, just a little highlight reminder from 2020. I have all those 2020 videos. Someone asked me, "Did you ever read the Great Reset?" Oh, read it.
They do that to hide the neck, so that way, it's a defense mechanism.
Have you seen Fat Bastard from Austin Powers?
I got no neck. Well, I can't say it on there. I can't say it on there. My neck looks like a.
Actually, when you were bringing up, I put Austin Powers. I put actually that character in the latest Father Rip video that I was doing New Year's Eve into New Year's Day night. I got done with that probably about 12:45 in the morning. But yeah, that character makes that video for a little segment of it. I have to entertain myself when I'm doing this.
Well, I mean, it's also very applicable.
It worked for the audio of the lecture at that time. So when you see it, I have it. If you're on the app, it's already there. It's been there for a couple of days. If you have the app, it's in the new release section. But if you're not and you're watching it on YouTube Rumble or Spiritus that comes out Saturday night, I think it is. So, did we lose Rick?
Exactly. Yep, exactly. No, you didn't lose me. I'm here. Which is why you need to get all that. You need to be subscribed to the Census Video app to get all that good stuff.
Plus, it helps the shadow ban I got going on right now because I'm losing.
Oh well, Elon has continued the shadow banning, and that whole thing came down to him and MAGA. Did we talk about that last week? I think we did.
Yeah,
right?
we talked about it. Yeah.
And then everybody was waiting for the big guy to make a statement. Where was Trump gonna? Where was he gonna set? Where was he gonna come down to? Well, we found out over the weekend before anything else.
What's your mind on H-1B visas, sir?
I didn't change my mind. I've always felt we have to have the most competent people in our country. We need competent people. We need smart people coming into our country. And we need a lot of people coming in. We're going to have jobs like we've never had before.
But sir.
Yeah. So shocking. The billionaire who was bought by Elon Musk supports H-1Bs. Okay. So you guys who thought that you were going to get Elon Musk to back down or whatever, nah. Congratulations. X is just YouTube of 5. Well, meet new boss, same as the old boss when it comes to Twitter.
It was something I was saying about it going, who is it? I think I caught something of Catholic Take in there talking about how the guest was mentioning how he thinks that the government will get better because of the election. I missed the next couple of minutes because I was laughing on the ground hysterically.
These people are so cute. They're so cute when they talk like that. Oh, Doge is going to save us.
What do you think? Mr. Conservative Reagan didn't do a thing to help to stop anything. You think that the DJT and pretty much the guys that 40 years, 20 years, 30 years ago would have been
the richest cabinet in the history of the United States is going to
stop the growth.
Really, yeah.
Yeah, by the way, the land of the free. No, I saw a stat. We were a priest friend of mine were talking about the income tax before 18. By the way, did anybody know what year the progressive income tax came in? You know that communist plan, that checkmark box, but Engels and Marx was all for progressive income tax. 1861. What guy was in office at that time? There's a temple for him. I can't remember his name. We call him our Lord and Savior Abraham Lincoln. So yeah, remember he signed the progressive income. Before that, it was 5%. I think it was. After that, what 40-50%? So from now to March, go to work, slave, because you need to pay the government your hard-earned earnings. And there was the Mises just put out a video. Was it Mises? Yeah, Tom DiLorenzo talked about that exact thing. And there were some great quotes in there. If you want to listen to that, just remember, listen to that, and then sing "Land of the Free, Home of the Brave" afterwards. Because if you think you're free, again, if you own property, imagine paying it off and not pay the property tax. You won't own that. You'll see the real owners of that property come out and take you away.
Yep. Yeah, if you think you really are, just the best day of your life should be when you pay off your home, except for the fact you get a letter 2 days later saying, now that your home is paid off, you are now responsible for the property taxes that are due to be whatever time of the year. And here in Texas, it's like $5,000-$6,000 in property taxes and always going up. So it's an absolute scam. And they always, my wife and I, we don't have kids, and we always looked at it, it's like, and that's the most expensive thing. It's the most expensive thing that your property taxes go to, at least in Texas. I know when I looked at one in Fort Worth that we were paying $4,500 or something 10 years ago, $2,400 of it was going to the ISD that was right near me. It's like, we should be able to opt out of this because we don't have kids. So why are we paying for the ISD that we're not using? But
no, talk about schools. I mean, people should yell out, why am I paying for public schools? I don't use public schools, but no.
You homeschoolers should be in the exact same boat that I'm in. It's like, I'm homeschooling my kids. Why am I paying for homeschool and having to subsidize without my choice? You're stealing my money to subsidize the school system that's naturally failing. That's
starting today. We all get to hire some guy to go over the taxes to make sure we pay Uncle Sam whatever he feels like it. That was one of the quotes. We come up with the idea that what we think you owe us, and we will give you what we think you can live off of, or you have no right to live off your own money or something like that. But yeah, so right now we get ready because tax day cometh, and we got to make sure with get your pennies in there so you can pay the guys up in DC, or again you'll get the guns come down and they will say hello to you and throw you in jail like they did Wesley Snipes. But land of the free, home of the brave.
Yeah, well, that's that is definitely.
Just listen to Jack. I'm trying not to call him out, but just listen to Jack. I mean, he's talking about manifest destiny with all this.
Well, once we buy Greenland, that'll really be manifest destiny in action.
But I guess here's one story that it is about illegals. I just don't know why it's all of a sudden happening now.
Formal warnings to professional sports leagues following another high-profile break-in. Thieves this time targeting the home of an NBA star, stealing thousands of dollars in jewelry. Multiple pro athletes burglarized since September. Here's ABC's Trevor Ault.
Tonight, the FBI warning sports leagues about criminals targeting the homes of professional athletes. Dallas Maverick star Luka Doncic, the latest in the growing list of victims. Thieves reportedly making off with $30,000 worth of jewelry. His rep telling ESPN no one was home at the time, and thankfully Luka and his family are safe. The FBI says organized theft groups from South America target athletes' homes due to the perception they may have high-end goods like designer handbags, jewelry, watches, and cash, often tracking potential victims using social media. 3 weeks ago, thieves entered the home of Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow.
I feel like my privacy has been violated in more ways than one.
And burglars also targeted Kansas City Chiefs stars Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes.
It's frustrating, it's disappointing, but I mean, I can't get into too many of the details.
Mary, officials believe these groups are well organized, conducting surveillance by posing as joggers or deploying drones. The leagues are urging players to beef up their home security.
I mean, they can afford it, so...
It's just to me, it's just a weird story because athletes have had money for a while, flaunting it for a while. I mean, MTV Cribs, they've always had an athlete on there or actors on there as well. So it's going.
Well, the crazy thing is now, if you look, most of those were staged.
Yeah.
Most of those were staged. If the houses were staged in a different way. It was all, maybe some of the stuff was real, but most of it was staged to bring a different perception to the show. Kind of like Pimp My Ride.
Burrow was talking about buying the Batmobile a couple weeks ago.
Oh, he bought one.
Going, huh? So it's kind of like, hey, you're telling everybody what you guys got, and everyone already knows you got $100 million.
Yeah, to be fair, their contracts are publicized.
Yeah. And you just flaunt it in front of people when you see it, and it's I don't know. It's kind of like not saying I'm approving of it. Obviously, I'm just going of. Why is it now? I mean, when they're away, when they're not at the home, away games, they're out going for a whole weekend or whatever. You know their schedule. You know where they live. I remember going to Chicago. You knew where everyone knows where Jordan's house is. But all of a sudden now, I don't know. Just weird that it's allowed to happen, I guess.
Well, it's also one thing that I heard a couple of weeks ago. It's the Venezuelan gangs that are doing it. Yeah, it's the Venezuelan gangs that are doing the targeting. So. They're more of a protected class because they're our new immigrant friends, so they're allowed to do those kinds of things. But yeah, it's crazy. You would think that the idea is that if they're professional athletes, they have their houses are at least gated with security systems and all these other kinds of things, but I guess not. I guess you fell into the trick of living in a high trust society when we're really not in a high trust society anymore because of the complete and utter melting pot. That's what happens when you're in a melting pot. You can't have high trust. So it's just one of those things.
I just thought it was a weird story. It's happening, but it's just odd. I don't know. They walk around just like rappers. You walk around with bling bling. The guys do that too, and all of a sudden now it's a story.
Did you know why? That's a hip hop thing. And do you know why back in the day hip hop guys and gangsters actually had gold chains and stuff like that? It's because the money they were bringing in, they couldn't just take it to the bank and deposit it. So instead of walking around with all these stacks of money, they would buy gold chains, gold rings, and things like that as a way to not have all that cash on hand. Yeah, because you couldn't go down to like the First New York bank with $40,000 in cash and be like, hey, I need to run this through. So that's actually why that culture that they're emulating is those guys who had that money.
Hello,
back in the day,
Mr.
they
Pock.
couldn't.
How's your day today? Did you get that drug about 30? Yes, I did. Here's my 30,000.
I did. Look at this new ring. It went through. So it's like, I see it went through. Well done. But
there goes Sir Biggie right behind you. They missed the Sir Smalls. Can I open your account today?
Well, I mean, I learned that from listening to Whitlock. So that's pretty much where I got that from. But yeah, it's allowed to happen. Like I said, there's a lot of things that are allowed to happen right now because the society is it is fractured. There's a lot of transient people that move to different places. So your neighborhoods of 50 years ago, everybody knew each other, and you didn't have to have neighborhood watches because you had Granny on the porch. She was your neighborhood watch, and anybody that was new to the neighborhood, she knew, and she would let the dads know, and they would take care of business. That's not the case anymore because everybody, look at me. I moved from Rhode Island. My wife's from El Paso. We live in a place that neither one of us grew up in, so we have to get to know the neighbors and do all even them. They're all transient as well. So.
That Granny?
Yeah. But back in the day, she wouldn't be like the head of a major police department. She would be at home on the rocker. So if she took a nap at 2 p.m, it would be okay. So that would be all right in that regard. So that's really the last thing. Anniewar.com. What we got there?
If you have Granny in there, it's because of people like this.
Right.
Shots fired! Shots fired! Shots fired!
This is the guy that's going to take out the Venezuelan terror gangs, by the way, too.
Headed by Granny.
Yeah. Him and Granny are going after him. So
this week in war, not much. Suspect in the Las Vegas bombing was a Green Beret. We knew that. Veteran with ISIS flag. And Nola, U.S. military aid to Israel reaches $22 billion. Israel settler violence highest in 2024. U.S. launches round of airstrikes on Yemen just because it's Thursday. Ivory Coast says French troops leave country. Russian gas flow to Europe through Ukraine leaves. So if you want to get more local, check them out. And all here you got Sudan, the Congo, Syria, and Israel, Palestine. Nearly 1,100 Palestinian babies killed in the Israeli war in Gaza, authorities say, and pro-life people mostly do not care. Sorry, that was my off topic. In Canadian news, Trudeau leaves Canada in suspense as anxious Liberals urge him to go. They're having a hard time with Justin and their love affairs on the rocks up there. And
well, that's Germany, what happens when you import 1 billion Indians.
Yes, German energy officials asked citizens to save gas. I don't know if anybody remember me talking about this 4 years ago, when they were talking about literally cutting off the gas and have these hot areas for you. So when it gets cold, you can go in there and heat up. I know I entitled this the polar vortex before, and I changed it to bird flu because I forgot about how did I forget about bird flu? Don't know. It's been a weird week for me. Yeah. So anyways, but yeah, this is one of those things. Save gas. You people die. You Pinions die. You go stay over here and figure out how to get warm, which get those books on how to create a fire if you need to, or make sure you got to, you just tell the government.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We got a polar vortex coming next week.
Big one. Yeah, we're going to 2 weeks of sub 30. Now, we'll see, tomorrow's Friday. We should start getting the chemtrails tomorrow and the Saturday because the front comes through here Sunday. So should be like clockwork. I'll make sure.
Yeah, you got to get.
I wonder how many of my plants are going to live after this. I mean, they're not that cold hardy, and the HOA we're renting in won't let me have my greenhouse, and it's really killing me because I'm just hoping I don't have to play taps for a lot of my stuff back there, but we'll see. I may have to start over on a couple of them. They're all in pots, so.
Well, we'll continue to pray for your plants, St. Francis. No, that wasn't St. Francis. He was in plants. Who was the one to plant? Who was
there's quite a few actually Saint farmers by there. Isidore the farmer. There's a couple.
Oh, Isidore. Yep, he's the popular one. Yep.
There's 4 or 5 that are where there's 2. I think 2 in the east, 2 in the west, and the other 3 aren't well known, but they're cool stories. So check them out.
Always good to know. All right, Saint of the week and cry room. My cry room, I'm going to continue to put Elon Musk in there because he's just a jerk. And whatever. I don't care. I'm going to put him in the cry room for that. Just continuing to, go back and forth. Saint of the week, Marcus Freeman. Notre Dame just beat Georgia tonight. Good man. Couldn't happen to a better guy. Catholic convert. Takes his guys to mass on Saturdays. And so he seems to be overall, Notre Dame, I get it. Notre Dame is the institution is in a lot of upheaval. That's every college outside of a few, but he's at least trying. He's doing his part within there. So that's my guys.
Saint of the weeks, I'm going with this group, this nonprofit called Beloved Asheville, has confirmed they have purchased 9 acres of land in the heart of Swannanoa, North Kakalaki. 2 claps for Ric Flair. Woo! I'm trying not to yell too much. The kids are sleeping behind the wall. Beloved will be building beloved Asheville.
Beloved
will be building dozens of homes for families who lost theirs during Hurricane Helene. Every single home will be gifted to families for free, which is cool because the FEMA guys only let them in for 12 months, I think, and then they're kicking them out, I think it is. But that very, very neat. There's a couple groups building homes like that. Just another example. You don't need DC. You don't need the feds. You don't even need a state government to do that. People will come together, figure out an idea, work at it, raise money for it, and then produce the product that is in need for it. You don't need Daddy DC to do it for you. 9 times out of 10, they're going to screw it up, kill you, or poison you. One or the other is going to happen.
Or all three.
Or all three.
if you get lucky.
Yeah. Kill you,
right.
steal you, and then poison you after you're dead.
Just to make sure. Just to make sure.
For good reason.
That's right. That's the only thing government's efficient at.
Yes. The cry room is going to be China invokes Abraham Lincoln to justify push to take Taiwan. Why? Because they literally said, since quote, and now you have to pay for it, but I got the clip somewhere else. The quote, since Americans love Abraham Lincoln, I think he's the quote greatest president ever, and he forced the South to come back in, which long story, they forced them out. They said they couldn't do it, then they forced them in, get the buck. Well, we can do that to Taiwan. So when anybody says the U.S. is going to back up Taiwan, throw that in their face, going, "Oh yeah, what do you at on the South, brother?"
Yep, Sherman's march to Taiwan is going to be the next one, so we'll see how that ends up. All right, folks, that's it for this episode of News from the Pew. Like, subscribe, and share the News from the Pew. We will talk to y'all next week. Thank you for hanging out with us. God bless, and Viva Cristo Rey.
How dare you!
Womp womp.